Boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages, it's Jesse with the Common Nerd, bringing you pop culture and all things nerdy through a common sense lens. And the BBC has been in a bad state for a long time, right? A lot of people constantly complain about, of course, the licensing fee that goes on over there, which is just absolutely insane. It's a foreign concept to me as an American for the government to require for you to have something that's broadcast freely through the airwaves. You have to literally pay for it like it was cable. Wow. Okay. Anyway, well, all of those forced taxes, all of those forced payments from UK citizens have been funding absolute insanity, like things like the BBC's Doctor Who with Russell T Davies and their Disney deal that they've had over the last few years, which of course boys and girls decided to cause massive irreparable damage to the brand overall, which of course Doctor Who is one of BBC's, if not BBC's most flagship brand out there. It is arguably one of the most well-known globally, and although it might not have the most broad appeal out there to general audiences, has literally been a cultural icon of the United Kingdom since its inception, boys and girls. And now we have seen under the current leadership of BBC and Russell T Davies, the lowest ratings in the 60-year history of the show. And the best part about this is the BBC has upset so many fans with what they've been doing over the last few years that we now have it confirmed that it will end up costing them over $1.5 billion in lost licensing fees, boys and girls. And if you try to argue with me and tell me Doctor Who is not a primary factor behind that, well, I've probably got some oceanfront property in Arizona that I can convince you to buy as well. Because as you can see over here from the headline at geeksandgamers.com, BBC loses over $1.5 billion as more British citizens refuse to pay the license fee. And I mean, why wouldn't you want to keep paying for it when they literally took the television show that was one of the hallmarks of your country, something that caused a massive amounts of your population to tune in every single Saturday night? Yeah, they decided to take that 60 years of history and goodwill and decide to completely and totally turn it all upside down because Russell T Davies' agenda mattered more than good stories traveling throughout time and space. And now, boys and girls, it's cost them over $1.5 billion. And I, for one, think it's a beautiful thing to see and exactly what they deserve. So we're going to check out this article from geeksandgamers.com, getting all of the juicy details. And of course, in case there was any doubt in anybody's mind, exactly what has led to a massive section of this as well, the destruction of Doctor Who. But before we do, if you do enjoy our content, hit that like button, share with all your friends, and subscribe or follow if you have not already, boys and girls, because we are grinding, we are growing. We just crossed 2,400. We're inching our way closer and closer to 25. I think we're like 2452, and I could not do that without every single one of you. Also, there's something else I can't do without each and every single one of you. This has been my full-time job for the last 3 years by the grace of God, because of some crazy things that have gone on behind the scenes, and as well as honestly just the price of everything and YouTube doing its YouTube stuff. I cannot continue doing this without your membership. So boys and girls, if you believe in what Common Nerd does, if you like the fact that I produce content for you guys 7 days a week and live stream 6 days a week, please become a member of this channel. It's $5 or less a month. And if we get to 100 members by the end of December, Common Nerd will be able to keep the lights on around here and keep doing this stuff and bringing you guys entertainment 7 days a week. If not, well, this thing will all end up being over. So if you do believe in what we do, if you appreciate my videos in any way, shape, or form, please become a member of this channel, because otherwise a lot of this is going to get drastically reduced by the end of the month, much like BBC's very own budgets have been. So if you're fans of mine and you like what I do, don't cancel your license fee. Get a license fee, buy a membership or a subscription via the Common Nerd. So I appreciate all of you guys for that as well. And also leave us a comment in the section down below. Let me know what you think about all this. Does it surprise you at all that the BBC has lost over $1.5 billion in licensing fees because of the kind of agenda-driven garbage that they've been pumping out over the last, well, honestly, decades at this point? Let us know what you think about it in the comment section down below. And like I said, if you like to support the channel, check out the memberships. All right, boys and girls, from geeksandgamers.com and our dear sweet Alex Gorzo. The BBC is increasingly being rejected by British citizens, with new analytics indicating it is losing over $1.5 billion a year in potential earnings from the license fees, which means $1.5 billion less they have to produce what is the worst ratings in a 60-year show history. So, yay! That's a good thing, boys and girls. These numbers are a result of British citizens either finding ways not to pay the BBC license fee or simply deciding they don't want or need the service. Unlike American network television, which is free and needs only an antenna for American citizens to watch, the BBC, or British Broadcasting Company, requires UK citizens to pay a license fee to the government for access to BBC broadcasting. I mean, this would literally be like the IRS coming into your house every year and saying, if you want to keep accessing PBS, which a lot of people don't even watch, you have to pay a fee. If not, we'll fine you and potentially put you in jail. Yeah, that's the United Kingdom for you. That's the British Broadcasting Corporation. Yeah. The license fee is how the BBC makes most of its money. Boy, I wonder why they've been able to keep putting out shows that have the worst ratings in the 60-year history and with no consequences. I mean, we thought the Jodie Whittaker era with Chris Chibnall was bad because that had the worst ratings in 50-year history. And then Russell T. Davies came back and said, hold my double-sided dildo and watch this. I'm going to drive it even farther down into the ground. And the only reason he can do that is because of UK citizens on the back of your license fees. Otherwise, this whole thing would have collapsed a long time ago, boys and girls, and Doctor Who would be an IP that gets licensed out to some other company out there that will actually give us good, true Doctor Who stories, unlike what the BBC does. So, yeah. And for a long time, paying it was a matter of course for most households in the UK. Many criticized the BBC license fee. So yeah, most people just thought it was just part of your normal thing. It's like part of a sales tax, right? You just paid it and didn't really think about all that much of it. Well, guess what? When you keep producing garbage like woke Doctor Who, yeah, people aren't exactly going to be interested in giving you their money willingly anymore. This is from Andy Preston. It says BBC license fee has to end. It's immoral to make everyone pay £200 to just have TV or watch another's channel's output. I explained this to Peter Cardwell on Talk TV, proposing that the license fee reduced by 5% a year from now on. How about you just eliminate it, turn it into a private company, and let it stand on its own, like every other news organization around the planet has to do that's not government-sponsored? What is up with the Crown and the United Kingdom and all of its little things about sponsoring literally government propaganda? Your tax dollars are paying for a news organization that feeds you propaganda. And yet you sit there and continue to allow this happen over and over again. The UK boggles my mind. I have friends that live over there. I know there are common sense, sensible folks that are not possessed by the spirit of the age living in that country. What are you doing? What is going on over there? You're being overrun by Muslim hordes to where it's not even safe to walk the streets of London anymore because you're afraid you're going to get raped or stabbed. And you have your government robbing you in order to pay for propaganda like the first ever gay kiss in Doctor Who. That's what you're paying for over there. Why? Well, a lot of people are deciding not to anymore. An increasing number of UK citizens are refusing to pay, by hook or by crook. According to The Guardian, the Commons Public Accounts Committee, which is a body that appraises the value of government projects, programs, and services, the license fee evasion rate, quote unquote, is now 12.5%, which the committee calculates is costing the BBC £550 million in revenue, which equates out to $726 million. The numbers of households deciding not to pay the license fee because they don't want to access the BBC is 3.6 million, up from 2.4 million in 2021. So up over a million people have dropped the license fee, and i.e. dropped the BBC over the last 4 years. That's nuts. What other company could lose 1 million customers in 4 years and still keep afloat? Oh, that's right. One almost exclusively funded by your tax dollars. The committee estimates this cost the BBC $814 million per year. Combined with those who essentially steal access to the broadcaster, this amounts to over $1.54 billion. A tremendous loss for the BBC. Yeah, you think? What other company out there can lose $1.5 billion in a few years and still keep their lights on? Well, Disney, but Disney's a whole lot bigger than the BBC is. And they're actually required to make a profit and held accountable by their shareholders. Who in the United Kingdom is holding the British Broadcasting Corporation accountable? Anybody? I mean, the viewers are. The fans are. Doctor Who, Nagati Gatwa, Christmas special ratings, lowest of the series, right? Lowest ratings in the 60-year history, lowest ratings of all time for this show. Boy, I wonder why the BBC is losing over $1.5 billion. Basil the Great says this is the end of the BBC. They only have themselves to blame. We won't fund this propaganda anymore. And Basil's right. And clearly, millions of people agree with him over there in the United Kingdom. The reason people find ways around the way to pay license fees is the same reason people in America steal cable, or why anyone steals anything. But why are so many British citizens simply dropping the BBC? Because that's the real question, right? Thieves are always going to steal. There's always going to be thieves as long as humanity still has free will and we don't live in some kind of insane totalitarian government. Even then, people are still stealing things. Humanity, there are always going to be bad people. There are always going to be bad actors that are going to try to take things from other people that they didn't deserve and they didn't earn, right? That's always the way it's going to be. But why are so many honest, upstanding, normally completely and totally by the numbers citizens of the UK dropping this stuff? Well, look at all the controversies they've gone over. We've talked about Doctor Who. The long-running sci-fi show Doctor Who has seen an uptick in divisive social and political messaging. Russell T Davies flat out said he only agreed to come back to Doctor Who if he could push his agenda in the show. That last Disney paid special, The War Between the Land and the Sea, was his tipping point. He said if he did not get his green agenda activist propaganda story to be able to make it into a special, he would not come back to Doctor Who. So yeah, that was always his intent, to have divisive and political messaging. And it's almost assuredly not alone. President Trump recently said he's planning to sue the BBC for deceptively editing a speech of his, calling into question the honesty of its news report. Is there any common sense person out there that truly believes the BBC has done any honest news reporting in the last decade? Like, let's be honest, is there any major news organization out there that you don't think has had some questionable reporting, some deceptive reporting over the last few decades? Right? And trust me, if you can name one, they're none of the major legacy institutions. None of them. And the BBC's no different. They've been possessed by the spirit of the age the entire time. Right here, as points out, heels versus babyface. Don't believe me about Doctor Who being politically charged? Doctor Who visits, checks notes, Planet of the Incels. Now, that wasn't the title of the episode, but that's exactly what the planet was called. Planet of the Incels. Now, I don't know about you boys and girls, but incel isn't even a word I ever was even aware of up until the last few years. And I consider myself a relatively well-read and halfway intelligent person. Had you ever heard that word used in traditional society ever? Do you think that's ever a word that would have ever been used prior to the modern era of Doctor Who? Right? We're going back and watching Classic Who on Sunday nights right now. Right? We just got finished with the Marco Polo series. And we're getting ready to pick up another series next week. Come join us on Sunday nights at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. You're going to love it. And it's going to be a lot better than Planet of the Incels. But this is stuff you would have never seen. But as Az points out, I wonder when rent-free writing is going to end and actual entertaining writing will return, right? Because they love it. They revel in the fact that we trash them and roast them and get mad about the fact that they destroyed what was once a family event in my house, right? They like that. They revel in it. You know what we revel in? Them losing over $1.5 billion, sacrificing over $1 billion on the altar to their agenda, all so you could get the lowest ratings in the 60-year history of a show. 60 years ago, you were getting better ratings at a time where the population was of the planet was 2/3 of what it is now, right? Half of what it is now. And they have the lowest ratings in 60 years. But it's not just Doctor Who fans. It's not just Trump voters and MAGA supporters. There's also a scandal-ridden past. Over the last decade or so, the BBC was found to have been derelict in stopping sexual abuse by an investigation led by Dame Janet Smith, a judge. Moreover, there is the heightened competition of online entertainment platforms like YouTube, and Rumble, and Pilled, and Kick, and all of the rest of alternatives out there to the BBC, which not only offer a variety of viewpoints and topics, but are also free. Free to watch. Ain't got to pay a license fee to watch my videos on YouTube. We do appreciate your memberships, but you ain't got to pay nothing. It's all free to watch. Unlike the BBC and their propaganda. Their Doctor Who gay kiss. First ever gay kiss of Doctor Who. Boy, that was a checkbox that was totally worth checking, wasn't it? That was just so integral to the show to have the Doctor make out with some historical dude out there, completely and totally abandoning his companions. Yeah, that sounds like Doctor Who to you, doesn't it? That sounds like something the Doctor would have always done, right? Yeah. The chairman of the Commons Public Accountings Committee, Jeffrey Clinton Brown, called it a time of heightened competition, and the BBC is struggling to stay in the fight. What's interesting is the BBC doesn't seem to be doing much about these numbers, particularly the people avoiding the license fee. Although the BBC made nearly 2 million visits to unlicensed homes last year, prosecutions for license fee evasions were 70% lower than they were the previous year. Clinton Brown suggests a modernized approach focused more on online viewing, while the BBC response was a vague commitment about exploring all options. What those options are and whether they convince more British citizens to pay the BBC license fee or to stop getting around it remain to be seen. And if they're responding with a vague comment about exploring all options, you only explore all options when you're at the end of your road, right? When things are going down the hill and you don't have any options to do. Notice they don't decide to pivot. They don't talk about pivoting their messaging. They don't talk about being more fair and balanced, which is what we see happening at CBS right now since Skydance bought Paramount. We see the changes over there happening, right? With all of that. The lady from the Free Press, God, Lord forgive me, I can't remember her name right now, Barry Weiss. Barry Weiss going over there now being in charge of CBS and all of its news accounting, right? The lady that got fired because she wouldn't, toe the line with the New York Times, even though she's a liberal herself. I think she's even married to a woman. But she's now bringing fair and balanced reporting back to CBS. And if things go well, she'll be doing the exact same thing to CNN, right? You see Paramount Skydance talking about erasing all of the Kurtzman Trek stuff. You even see Disney pivoting away from all of the LGBTQ nonsense and children's entertainment. What do you see the BBC doing? Do you see them changing their ways? Do you see them talking about doing new things with Doctor Who? Do you talk about them trying to maybe do things that are historically accurate? Maybe not having a black Anne Boleyn? Maybe some of those kind of things? No, that's never going to happen. Why? Because the BBC is controlled by people that are completely and totally possessed by the spirit of the age. They believe they're right, just like Russell T. Davies does, who, when asked about the low ratings of the show, said it didn't matter to him because they were targeting the kids and they were doing well targeting the kids. And that's all that mattered to him. Disney was the same thing. Your not so secret gay agenda up until it cost you billions of dollars. Disney's lost tens of billions of dollars over the last few years, sacrificing on their altar to the agenda, to the spirit of the age, to the woke cult. And guess what? BBC's been doing the exact same thing, probably for even longer than Disney's been doing it. And the only difference is the BBC was a publicly funded company. Tax dollars, money stolen out of your pocket. as a UK citizen to fund propaganda and the destruction of UK's probably arguably most iconic brand. Certainly their most iconic sci-fi brand, hands down, not even close. And now they've lost over $1.5 billion because of it. Guess what, BBC? You decided to pick a side. You decided to stand with the spirit of the age and let every single aspect of your corporation get taken over by it. And now you've lost over $1.5 billion in potential revenue. And guess what? It's exactly what you deserve. You decided to let Doctor Who become nothing more than Russell T Davies' vehicle for his own personal messaging. You allowed Chris Chibnall to go in there and destroy over 50 years of history and lore. Also, you could have a little black girl as the first Doctor. And then turn the Time Lords, the white guys, into a bunch of evil monsters. How'd that work out for you? Because guess what? At the end of the day, fans have and always will decide what succeeds and what fails. And Whovians globally have decided that the BBC is not worth their time of day anymore. You have the worst ratings in the 60-year history of Doctor Who, and now they've lost over $1.5 billion in licensing fees. And even the BBC themselves admits they have no idea what they're going to do in the future. Guess what? You get what you deserve. You dance with the devil in the pale moonlight for decades, despite every fan out there trying to tell you to knock this off. And you didn't listen. You listened to all the sweet little lies that he whispered into your ears about us just being bigots and its and phobes and that we'd go the way of the dinosaurs and that you were the new future of the world. Well, just like reality smacked so many other people in the faces, time and time again, it has now smacked the BBC in their face. Because at the end of the day, 2 + 2 still equals 4. God is still on his throne in heaven, and Marxists eventually run out of other people's money. And guess what? That's exactly what's happened to the BBC. And after all, they did it to themselves. If you've made it this far, thanks for watching, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen. If you haven't already, make sure you smash that like and subscribe or follow button depending on what platform you're on. And of course, a big shout out to all of our subscribers and members. You are the grease between our gears, keeping this machine running. And I could not do this without every single one of you.